Hi, I'm Dave Finch. In this video, we're going to be talking about my process for drawing the human body. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to start drawing just some very, very basic tube form people. I always start with a chest shape and a pelvic shape, and I do that because they're the two largest masses in the body, and their relationship between each other, the pelvis and the chest, has a lot to do with the body's balance standing on the ground. And also because they're the points where the extremities sprout from. The chest sprouts the head above, the arms, and the pelvis sprouts the legs. And between the pelvis and the chest is just a simple barrel shape for a stomach. So I think it's good to bear in mind that a figure is 8 heads high, approximately, and I never measure anymore. I did at first, and I would recommend that you do, just to get comfortable, so you know that you're consistently doing it that size. But um, um, I really couldn't possibly sustain a career measuring every figure for the correct number of heads every time. Now this is a figure from behind, and I've drawn a simple line through it. This is a line that George Bridgman calls the line of beauty, which is a longer flowing curve that reverses itself and goes the other direction. And I'm doing that because, especially for a back, the curvature of the back is very, very important. If you draw somebody with a straight spine, they'll look very unnatural. You want the back to have a nice curve to it down into the pelvis. Here the body is from the side. Again, I'm showing that curvature. And you can see that I'm placing my chest and my pelvis along that curve. So where my arm is coming from out from, where my ear is coming from at the side of the head, and where my leg is coming from, where the pelvic bone would be, is directly on that line, and it gives the body a much more realistic kind of look than it would have if it were just again a flat line, which would be very boring. I always draw circles for my knees and my elbows. It's a very easy way to show them. For your chest shape, I'd really recommend that you think about it like a vest. So just imagine a three-dimensional vest and learn to turn that in space. Here it is. This is it from the side and slightly from below. And I've got holes for the arms to come out and a hole for the head to come out. And I I think it'd be a very good thing for you to just sit and practice drawing that shape, just the vest shape of the chest, and then from there, the next thing to get really comfortable with is the pelvis, and the pelvic shape is basically like a pair of underwear. You can see, and it just through those underwear you can see I've got little circles that I drew. They're kind of floating because the bones for the legs actually float out from that shape. But um, pelvic shape is very, very simple. The holes for the legs are angled in towards the crotch, uh, and the pelvic bone and the pelvic shape never sits flat. It's always at an angle, and you can see that I've got that here with this box. You can consider the box actually a simplified version of the pelvic shape, and actually it's more simple in a way because with that box shape, the sides of the box actually are where the outside of the bones, your leg bones, would be. So it kind of gives you that connection. But yeah, I think it's very important to bear in mind that you're drawing a box that's angled forward, so your butt sticks out a little bit and your crotch kind of pulls in a little bit. So here's my tube form for a leg, and if you'll notice, along the inside of the leg, it's actually very flat. I could draw that almost as a flat line. I've got a couple bumps kind of coming out of it, but really most of the shape and most of the bow in a leg is along the outside of the leg. Here it is from the inside. I think it's very important to learn all of the muscles that make up the leg, and to get to that point, I'll cover that later in this DVD. But the most important thing is to get comfortable enough with the simple shape of the leg that you can draw these sorts of forms consistently. And the forms that I'm drawing there are they're a muscular form, but it's just very, very simplified. And you can see in that bent knee that I drew, and actually it's going to appear again in this. This is a leg going away from you and foreshortening. You can see how much I've curved the lower portion of the leg and the upper portion of the leg. I've actually I've accentuated a little bit more than it really would be in real life, because I want to avoid what I've just drawn here, which is just a directly flat shape, and it looks like a robot or a Michelin Man or something. Those natural curves in the body, when you accentuate them, when you foreshorten, they really add a great deal of depth. So here's a simplified arm. You can see that it's actually arguably maybe easier than the leg simplified. I'm just going to go ahead and draw it from a few different angles. Here it is from behind the forearm, and then the hand, keeping everything very simple. What I'm doing there is just putting lines around the shape just so you can see kind of which direction it's going in space. And here's an arm that I'm going to foreshorten. Really, the most important thing to remember and bear in mind with a foreshortened arm, or foreshortened anything, is that, and that's right, the closer it is to the foreground, the longer it actually becomes. So as it goes further away from you, it becomes much shorter. So the upper arm in that foreshortened arm is very, very short. The forearm is longer, and the hand is longer. And now in this body that I'm drawing here, same thing remains true. I've got the upper arm very short, the forearm longer, and this is such a common figure in comic books. This could be Magneto with his cape on, standing, talking to his Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and raising his hand. Makes for a dynamic kind of pose.